In life, we all have to make choices. Choices that will inevitably change everything in your life, depending on the time, the place, and the way you execute them. Some people hate change. Others embrace it. For me, when I was growing up, I hated most changes. For example, when I was 13, I hated moving from the house I grew up in. I even hated when I got a new puppy, because I wasn't used to it yet. It was something I had to adapt to. This winter, we've all had to adapt to the polar vortex. And just like that new puppy, I hated it. Simple as that. However, things only got harder for me when I started growing up and discovering more and more about myself and my own identity and what that meant for me living in the world that currently exists. Now, I come to embrace changes because, well, I don't have really much of a choice, especially at this time in my life. Being a member of the LGBTQ community can be exhausting at times. It was exhausting for me to just come out to people when I identified as a lesbian. It felt like I literally had to do it every day, almost like I would jump out of a closet, awkwardly yell, "I'm gay," and then run right back in to get ready for the next group of people. It's like I worked at a terribly put-together haunted house. Come to think of it, I bet the town I grew up in would have hired me to scare the locals, since being different in any way isn't very appreciated there. When Martin Luther King Jr. talked about having a dream 50 years ago, he wasn't just talking about civil rights for African Americans. He was talking about equal rights for everyone. That march on Washington in 1963 not only led to the passage of significant civil rights legislation, but it also allowed Dr. King to advocate for other human rights causes, like poverty and workers' rights. I fully believe that if he were here today, he would have extended work to equality to other minority groups in the United States and quite possibly the world. But right now, we are here. And in order to achieve equality, we have to start local. Equality starts with places like Juniata. I fully believe that change works from the bottom up. So what can we do here? Well, we can start by being aware of what happens to others and changing the way we respond to these incidents. 2 years ago, a guy pushed me and verbally assaulted me in Goodhall because of the way I was dressed. Have you heard about it? Maybe, but what did you do about it? Maybe you felt bad for me, maybe you talked to your fellow colleagues about it and about how horrible it was, but what did you actually physically do to try to make Juniata a better, safer place for everyone? You probably did nothing. You did nothing in the hopes that someone else would figure this problem out, and then we could go on our merry way of getting the heck out of here and moving on to the next big thing. It was just an isolated incident anyway, right? The truth is, however, that over 80% of LGBTQ high school students have reported being verbally and physically assaulted at school. But we've all heard Charles Darwin's argument about adaptation. It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. Looking back on what happened to me, I realized that some people are just struggling to adapt to these changes, and that can be very uncomfortable. As an institution, we tend to make sure the student as an individual is okay, but not about the student body as a whole. We have a tendency to deal with things on a case-by-case basis instead of addressing the structural problem. While it is wonderful to know that you personally have support, being taken care of one by one does nothing to ensure that it will never happen again. Our approach is not showcasing our true adaptability, and I know we can do better. It's time to stop acting like everything is okay once the incident is over. We need to stand up for others who are brought down when it comes to basic human rights. We need everyone to not only be aware of the problems that are happening around us, but also be actively involved in changing them. I am just beginning to live as a transgender male, and one of my simple goals in life is to be able to go to the bathroom without being told I'm in the wrong one. If I choose to go to the men's room, I get weird, upset, or even threatening glares 100% of the time. If I choose the women's room, I hear soft whispers and laughter. When this happens, I want nothing more than to lock myself into a stall and never come out again. It's like sitting at the whites-only counter in Greensboro, North Carolina in the 1960s and feeling that hatred and refusal from other people just because your skin is a different color. With all of the challenges we have to face, it's sometimes hard to just get up in the morning. Every day I become less and less connected with my family. I become more and more in debt from college. I have nowhere to go when I graduate as of now. And most of these things are partially because of the choices I've made as I've been accepting who I am. But do I regret it at all? Not even a little bit. Would Martin Luther King Jr. have stopped protesting for equal rights if he knew he would be assassinated? Absolutely not. Harvey Milk, one of my all-time inspirations, who was also murdered during his life devoted to equal rights, said that rights are won only by those who make their voices heard. If a bullet should enter my brain, let that bullet destroy every closet door. We need to break out of the boxes we are put in. You are not disgusting or used if you have been sexually assaulted. You are not a freak because of whom you love or how you identify. You are not subject to discrimination because your skin is darker. What really needs to happen, and it is the most important, is we need to join together, despite all of our differences and our amazing diversity, and fight for each other. The fight needs to stop being for just one individual, one community, and start being for humanity. Our world is changing, our identities are evolving. We will adapt, but how we adapt is not inevitable. There are times when change just seems to happen, and then there are times when you have to choose it. So Juniata, let's choose it right now. Let's adapt out of our own free will, embrace it, unlock our true potential for making this world a better place. One person can move a rock, but a group can move a boulder. Imagine what we could do if we all fight together as a college to invoke change, then as an entire Huntington community, and hopefully, one day, together with the rest of the world. Juniata College, let's move those mountains.